Poor girl picks up wrong suitcase after flight, unaware a billionaire is charmed by her perfume. The baggage carousel hummed, suitcases tumbling down in endless colors and shapes, but to Mia, every bag looked like a treasure chest she could never afford to own. Her worn-out shoes tapped nervously on the airport floor as she waited, clutching the strap of her faded backpack. This was her first time flying. She had scraped together every dollar from part-time jobs to attend a scholarship interview that could change her life. When a sleek black suitcase with a blue ribbon appeared on the belt, she snatched it without hesitation, not realizing that fate had just handed her the wrong one. As she dragged the bag through the terminal, a faint fragrance rose from it, warm vanilla and lavender with a hint of sandalwood. Mia smiled. The scent was oddly comforting, wrapping around her like a gentle embrace, as if whispering, "You're going to be okay." She didn't know that a pair of eyes was watching her, sharp, curious eyes belonging to Adrian Cole, a billionaire businessman who had just returned from a long overseas trip. Adrian's life was a storm of meetings, mergers, and money. He was accustomed to being surrounded by power and luxury, yet he often felt emptier than the penthouse he returned to every night. When he spotted the young woman walking away with his suitcase, he didn't rush to stop her. Instead, he froze, captivated. The perfume, his late mother's favorite, one he had preserved carefully inside the suitcase as a keepsake, drifted through the air as Mia carried it. And for the first time in years, Adrian felt his heart soften. Mia didn't realize the mistake until she opened the suitcase in the small motel room she had booked with her last savings. Instead of her second-hand clothes and resume papers, the case held tailored suits, leather files, and a small velvet box containing a delicate gold locket. Panic rose in her chest. She couldn't afford trouble, not when tomorrow's interview meant everything. Clutching the locket in her hand, she whispered, "I'm so sorry, whoever you are." She resolved to return it first thing in the morning. But destiny didn't wait. The knock on her motel door came sooner than expected. Startled, Mia opened it to find Adrian himself, flanked by a driver. His presence filled the dim hallway, yet his eyes weren't harsh, they were curious, even gentle. "You have something of mine," he said, his gaze flicking to the suitcase. Mia's heart sank. She expected anger, maybe even the police. Instead, Adrian stepped inside and noticed the locket in her hand. "I didn't mean to take it," Mia rushed to explain. "It looks just like mine, only yours is nicer. I swear I was going to return it." Adrian studied her, noting the humility in her tone and the honesty in her eyes. Then he asked, almost softly, "Why does it smell like lavender and vanilla in here?" Mia blinked. "That's just my perfume. I make it myself from cheap oils. Helps me feel less invisible, I guess." For Adrian, time seemed to stop. The fragrance, her fragrance, was the same as his mother's. The coincidence struck him like lightning, but instead of dismissing it, he felt something stir deep inside. Perhaps fate was speaking. They sat down, and to Mia's surprise, Adrian didn't leave after retrieving his suitcase. He asked about her life, and she spoke, hesitant at first, then freely, about growing up poor, losing her parents young, and working nights to put herself through school. She spoke of her dream to study design and create affordable clothing for people like her, who deserved dignity no matter their income. Adrian listened, something he rarely did in his own world where voices were often drowned out by ambition. The sincerity in her words, the resilience in her smile despite all she lacked, it was more moving than any business pitch he had ever heard. The next morning, Mia nervously walked into her scholarship interview, only to find Adrian already seated on the board of sponsors. Her breath caught. She thought he might expose her, or worse, dismiss her as unworthy. But instead, Adrian looked at her with quiet encouragement. And when it came time to select candidates, his voice was firm, "She's not just qualified. She's extraordinary." Mia won the scholarship that day. Tears welled in her eyes as she left the hall, overwhelmed. Adrian caught up with her outside. "You returned my suitcase when you could have kept it," he said softly. You chose honesty over survival. That says more about your worth than any resume ever could. Mia smiled, the weight of years of struggle lifting just a little. I just wanted to do the right thing. Adrian reached into his pocket and handed her the locket she had admired. Then let me do the right thing, too. This belonged to my mother. I think she would have wanted you to have it. For Mia, it wasn't the gold or the luxury that mattered, it was the gesture. Someone had finally seen her, valued her, and believed in her dreams. And for Adrian, it wasn't about charity or obligation. It was about rediscovering the warmth of humanity through a girl who carried resilience like a crown and perfume that smelled like home. From that day forward, both their lives changed, not because of wealth or luck, but because kindness had bridged two worlds that otherwise would never have touched. Sometimes, a wrong suitcase leads you exactly where you belong.